Don't believe them. Don't trust them. They are dying. Let them die.
Dead.
Dude, that was like the best introduction freaking ever. I love that.
I did that like in 30 minutes, an hour ago, because I'm so rushed and I didn't have much time to put it all together. But
you had me like in tears. I was emotionally until I saw the flesh. I was emotionally invested and driven in this whole freaking thing.
I don't even know what your slogan was going to be, but I was like, "You sold me. Let's do it."
Yeah.
But
let them die. Peter, you need to make that a T-shirt.
Let them die. Oh, that's not a bad idea. Let
them
die. Which, for everybody who now watching, is our topic of conversation. You know, we've got these characters that have been around for a very long time. And the question tonight is, should they die? Should just retire some of these? How many stories can you tell in 100 years? And there's only one exception that I have in mind. I kind of feel like maybe time's over. Like, these characters are unrecognizable at this point. Like, that intro actually has a lot of versions of these characters. Like, if you go back to the original Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, none of them looked like they used to. Their characters are, I don't know, roughly the same, but still not. I don't know. I don't think they're as good. What do y'all think?
We've seen enough of them, man.
I've got an argument on both sides of that fence. Go ahead, Jake. I'm stepping on your toes. I apologize, but I got arguments for both sides.
Like, if we're going to be doing these characters, then I don't want 10 different versions up in my face. I want one. I want to feel like I'm dedicated to something. I want to feel like I'm going to be invested in one of these things. If it's just going to be an Elseworlds or a What If series, I don't care. I want to know what's going to move everything and everybody forward. So when it comes to Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Dr. Doom or Tony Stark as Dr. Doom, I couldn't give two shits. I want to know, is the story going to be good? Is it going to be fluid? Is it going to be meaningful? Is it going to launch the next phase? Is it going to get me back into caring about Marvel and what they have to give me?
So you basically just took all the thunder out of everything that I have to say.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good because you're right. You're right, and that's the point. Here's the deal. When you tell a story, there is a logical beginning, middle, and an end. There has to be an end in order for this to be a good story. No good story ever didn't have an end. So every one of these guys, they need to have an end. But you know the real problem? You know the issue with all of this? The issue with Superman? Right. The issue with these like Batman and Superman and some of these other entities, no offense, Jake, but Walking Dead is a wonderful example of this. And I know that you are emeritus of that all, but
you're completely good, man.
Huge fan, by the way. I'm a huge fan of Jake. But here's the deal. So these guys, you have to have you have to have that storyline. You have to have like the beginning, the middle, and the end. Where they get it so wrong in all these characters is that they keep screwing up everything in the middle. It's like they get part of the way through the beginning, and then they're like, oh, well, that didn't work. You know, we were expecting Avengers Endgame kind of levels in our movie that we put 30 minutes into developing. Let's start it over. Maybe we needed a different actor. Maybe we needed more inclusion in DE&I. Maybe we needed different color schemes or different. It's like they keep trying to throw shit at the wall and waiting for it to stick.
Mhm.
And it's like they're just mucking up the waters along the line in the middle of that storyline.
You know, I like how they have like Elseworlds it's kind of like What Ifs, right? Except I guess it's not so much what if, it's kind of a somewhere in there this might fit, right?
It's
It's
what
kind
made
of-
money before James Gunn got attached to the system.
So you've got these stories that they fit somewhere in there. That's fine, but then you've got like Marvel, where for a long time, I guess that's their motto, right? Is to try to fit everything within a timeline. Like all these stories have to kind of take place in the same, and then everything else is like a multiverse or it's in a what if story.
Mhm.
And over like Superman is what, like almost 100 years old.
Oh, no doubt. 1939?
How many-
that's Batman. 1920?
So how many-
1929 was around when Superman officially came to fruition.
How many
mean-
stories can you possibly tell, you know, before you start to have to like do extreme shit to these characters,
Of course.
and to the point where now, you know, we're like, okay, I don't know if it's DEI or what. I know that there's a lot of factors that go into why they're race swapping, gender swapping, and all that.
Mhm.
But part of it, I think, is we don't know what else to do with these characters, and that's where Elseworlds kind of works, because you're not pigeonholed into a timeline like what Marvel would do, and their way out of it is multiverse and the what if stories. But I'm just kind of curious, at what point is it just like, should we just let them go, retire them and start new? I know it's harder to get new characters going.
No, goddamn it, do it the fuck right, and then end it. Don't just get rid of them. Start over. Fuck your canon. Tell the story. Do it right, and move on.
Mhm.
With a
You know?
new character.
Totally
Are you
agree.
talking
Yeah.
about like now somebody, my wife was saying, what about Superman? Now Superman's kind of a character that I don't mind that he's been around for 100 years, and I feel like you could have another 100 years of a character like Superman.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
one,
Yes.
he's a Kryptonian. Who knows how long they live on Earth, right? But that's aside from that. Superman's like the comic book character. If you're going to have somebody last 100 years and 200 years, for one, you got to do them right. You can't do them wrong. Like you got to have, you got to like put an effort, like you're saying, into the stories, make them good. But
Have
I feel
a
like
plan.
that is a character you could maybe stretch out. Spider-Man, I don't know about Spider-Man. I
You
feel
have to
No,
know-
Spider-Man's the exact opposite, because he only exists in high school.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
he
you're
exists in
so
college.
limited.
Right.
Oh, now that's all the
One
new stuff.
semester.
That was
So-
like I don't know how long he was in high school until they brought him into college, but he was in college when I was reading
Superman is
for 30
the
years.
American idea, right? Truth, justice, the American way. That was him from inception. So,
So
you can't.
his logo now needs to be a big Bitcoin.
You would think. You would
Right?
think.
They need to like, yeah, dude.
Since
A big NFT.
Oh, yeah. Well, that what would you rather have? A big Bitcoin, or like? Well, I guess like gay Superman's not actually Superman; it's his son. But
yeah,
we
that's
gotta
his
like
son,
change
John.
these characters up. What were you saying, Jake?
Superman's been around longer than Mickey Mouse. Okay, Disney. Period. I don't care how big Disney gets. Superman has outlasted them, and I think he'll continue to.
I think
The
you will.
problem is that most people don't know how to write Superman because they're so focused on thinking
Yes.
that Superman is alien rather than being Clark Kent.
That's even a new thing. You are so 100,000% correct
Yeah.
on that. It's they wanted to do it like, oh God, I wish you had the meme of the darker and edgier Batman meme. Like that's so hilarious. And it plays like in with the Superman thing here, because like, yes, Superman is an alien, but they took Christopher Reeves And they were like, how do we do Superman after Christopher Reeves? It took them like 20 years to even try it again. And when they did, they were like, we wanted a darker, edgier Superman. So aliens.
Well, it's because it worked with Batman. They took Batman and made him real dark, and it actually worked really well with the character.
Yes, exactly, because it worked, because there was good writing behind that. And there was a passion behind the project that's sorely lacking in a lot of these IPs.
And as much as I like Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I do like it. I thought he did a good job. It kind of did a good blending of both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. However, that is not
Who was your favorite, Jake? Who's your favorite Spider-Man?
Of course, my nostalgia is going to say Tobey Maguire. But if I'm honest, Andrew Garfield was the best Spider-Man.
I actually think I'm the same way. I actually think Andrew Garfield did a better job. And I don't know if it's because I don't think it's because he's a better actor. I think he just looks more the part.
It's the way he actually interacted with his villains and the kids and the community. When a kid was being chased down the alleyway and being picked on because of his science project, Spider-Man immediately went in there, broke it up, and just hung out with the kid for a little bit and walked him home. That is fucking Spider-Man. That is a superhero too.
That's a good point.
Here's my 2 cents on that. Here's my 2 cents on that. So I grew up with Tobey Maguire basically being a huge linchpin in comic book movies. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't just Spider-Man. This was comic book movies back when that was happening. This is a much bigger issue than what people understand.
Groundbreaking in the sense that comic book movies were fun, but they weren't like
rare.
Spider-Man was like,
and they were never like super good, like the Spider-Man ones, where they were kind of like, wow, this could be actually good. So here's my 2 cents on that, because I have like my own personal opinion, whatever best Spider-Man, but here's my best anecdote for that. So in the newest Spider-Man movie, they introduced the 3 Spider-Mans and they put them all together, and it's this big nostalgia, wonderful thing that we all got to experience. And it completely ruined all of the universes of DC and Marvel for the rest of eternity. But it was a good movie, good fanfare. And I will say, of all of the moments in that movie, the ones that got me, the ones that were the most tearjerker moments were the Andrew Garfield moments. Those are the ones that hit my heartstrings the hardest, put literal tears in my eyes, were the Andrew Garfield ones. I have never seen an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie. I think that is a testament to him and his acting. I hadn't at that point when I saw that. I had not seen one. I knew some of the things, but it hit me that hard.
The little spider web hand that got me in the Andrew Garfield movies.
Or Gwen.
The one how he went to get what's her name, the love interest. I forget her name. Whatever. Gwen. When he went to save, and they had Andrew Garfield save her in the newest movie, and he saved her differently. He went down and caught her by hand, as opposed to catching her with the webs, because that is how he failed in his movies. So he learned.
But you know what? There's the other aspect of Andrew Garfield in No Way Home, that it wasn't even the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man that got you. If you knew anything about what they did to him and how they kind of like jerked him around, and he was supposed to be in the MCU. That was the thing.
That
and then he was just completely
forgot.
So it wasn't even the Spider-Man. When I saw him just being so excited to be back in the scene, it was like, oh, that's Andrew Garfield right there, you know? Yeah. That's not Peter Parker. And that was cool.
he was the 3rd Spider-Man in that movie, but he's kind of the first.
He was actually more important. He was kind of more entertaining. Andrew
He's
Garfield's
more integral.
More entertaining.
Imagine that movie if it was Tobey Maguire and Uncharted guy. If Andrew Garfield wasn't even in it.
That Moby Dick kid.
That child, that 14-year-old that's trying to the one that got with the girl from Dune.
Right.
Oh yeah, the girl from Dune. He's not in Dune. They did so much stuff together. I was kind of.
He's only 14. There's an age limit to acting in a Dune movie.
when I knew that Andrew Garfield was Spider-Man again was when they were at the top of the roof and, Aunt May was just killed, and everybody's grieving. And they said the line, with great power comes great responsibility. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man said, after Gwen, I stopped pulling my punches. I was like, yep, that immediately would have been me, no doubt.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I was like, for him to have that build up to save MJ in this universe to make up for what he lost in his own, that you just beat Toby and Tom both with one hand.
I agree. That was the moment. That was the moment of the movie.
Tobey Maguire's movie, like, nobody cared about Harry, and that death was lame. That was like I don't even know, dude. I can't even think of anything funny to say about it. I think
the reason nobody cared about Harry, because I actually liked James Franco in the first one. The second one, even better.
It was that
snowboard thing. Movie came through. He started going Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, whatever. But his acting went downhill for some reason. Like, he looked like he was high all the time when he was smiling. That's what was
I'm wondering if it was the acting or if it was more of the like, they put him in that ridiculous costume with that hoverboard, snowboard thing.
Yeah.
And they just made his character just a goofy, weird character.
Well, that's the thing. And his goofiness was so awkward, like I couldn't buy it. It wasn't even do crazy. This together. It wasn't manipulative. It wasn't crazy. It was just odd.
It was like, James Franco. There was no acting. That was just James Franco. And they show up on set and they have his lines on a fucking cue card on the side of the stage.
He had his buddy Seth Rogen at the side.
Didn't he just do the was it just before or just after he did the interview that he might have done that right
that
after
was after. That was definitely
Was it after?
Yeah.
So he was getting ready for that movie.
He was doing Pineapple Express, the interview, all that stuff.
So he was already kind of going downhill.
Yeah.
He wasn't like...
It wasn't downhill to him. It was like he had the Spider-Man 1 paycheck. He had done that TV series with Seth Rogen and all those guys prior. So he was like acting and making his way up, and he was bringing all of these kooks on his riding his coattails. Mm-hmm. He had that paycheck, and now he's like mega famous superstar. And that's him like living up his like mega famous superstar, super stoner life.
I think Sandman was the star of that one, or like his character had the most development in that whole movie.
It's the one we gave a damn about the most.
Dude, I think they did a good job on developing a couple of those guys. The what's his name? The Green Goblin from the Tobey Maguire movies actually pulled some heartstrings for me on that one. Like that guy. That guy is not pulling heartstrings for me. Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe just freaking nails it every time. Like, that guy's an amazing actor. And I was talking about Sandman and Spider-Man 3 and the No Way Home. Yeah, that's... I'd say Andrew Garfield was like the most interesting part, or most developed.
Oh yeah, he was the keystone to that movie. It would not have been the same movie if it was Tobey Maguire and Tom fucking whatever, not Hiddleston. Yeah,
so
Tom Holland.
So Spider-Man's kind of the character that needs that ending. Like, we all know all of their beginnings.
So
like,
what's that ending, like sophomore year of college?
We get that same intro, like the same, like, I don't know how many times I need to see Batman's parents' pearls falling on the ground.
Right.
Spider-Man's biggest enemy is mid-30s.
Right? Actually, when he was older in the Into the Spider-Verse, that Miles Morales movie, that was actually kind of cool, seeing him like grown up a little bit. But it was a Miles Morales movie, so who cares? Like,
right?
That's a good handing of the torch, though. That's a decent handing of the torch. Is like hand it off to someone else who needs to do it.
That kind of brings me to another point. When you've got 100 years of characters and stories, and there's nothing else to say, maybe there will always be something to say because times change, and you could integrate these characters, and maybe that's all part of the whole thing. That's why they're not the same as they used to be, and the older readers just need to get over it, right? Or it's an example, but not the best one, but it's an example, is Savage Dragon. Savage Dragon, and I know Savage Dragon. So, do you know anything about Savage Dragon? Stanta? Savage Dragon.
Oh, does it still say that? I need to change that. All I know is Jake's reaction right here. That's what I know about it.
So Savage Dragon started off with the original Savage Dragon, but it was kind of a cool idea. That character eventually kind of grew up, got married, and had kids, and then his kid became the next Savage Dragon, and then he grew up and got married, and then, or did they ever get married? I don't know. They're a very progressive couple, those two. But basically the new generation, it's like the comic book grows with the
Right.
The reason we're laughing is because that comic book turned into a bunch of degenerate crap, dude. There's like an issue, and I don't know if it's the only issue, but there's a lot of examples of Savage Dragon being kind of dog shit now. And one of them is there's a scene where Sun Dragon is like with his wife, and they're like going at it, and then he like splooges her into the ceiling. In the comic book. That's like not the Savage Dragon I remember reading, you know? And if I went back to like the comic book store with my kids and decided to pick Savage Dragon was one of my favorites, let's read this one, I'd probably be pretty pissed, you know, if I read that with my kids.
Somebody had just watched Scary Movie.
So there's like some iffy, what's going on, Brandon O'Neill?
Hey, Brandon.
What's up, man? How are you doing?
Yeah, so we're talking. So, aside from Savage Dragon and what he did with the characters, because there's some other examples of why, but I'm talking about the idea of a comic book that grows, the characters grow. That's actually, I think, a really interesting idea, and I'm surprised nobody else is really. I haven't seen it prominent anywhere else.
Right.
I mean, you got the new generations, the Teen Titans, and everything.
See, I know it's difficult, but like if that franchise did that thing, I'm sorry for this, but it's on the writers of the other IPs to come up with something new and original and different. They've got to come up with a new
example of a complete flop where they tried something similar. Was it the New Warriors? Is that the one where the snowflake and safe space and the internet gas and the backpack of hell or whatever?
Yeah, I didn't even go near that.
Yeah, well, nobody did because it never came out until I guess recently. Like that book got trashed on so hard because it was dog shit. Like the ideas were stupid, and because they can't even come up with cool new characters. But it got knocked down pretty hard, and they didn't even release it. But
see, they should do what you were saying that they did with Savage Dragon, with the generations coming in and doing it, and that's not a problem. Like even with Bruce Wayne, after Nightfall, Dick Grayson took up the mantle of Batman and fought it out with the Azrael, Jason Todd to see who could truly wear the cowl while Bruce Wayne was out. There's a storyline for you, but you have to get your balls together and get those characters into a story. You can't just sit there and expect Bruce Wayne to go solo when he only did that for one fucking year. 1939, Batman was solo. 1940, here comes Robin. Solved your problem. Let's move forward.
Yeah, and he didn't grow up. And then at a certain point, you know, and you've got to give these characters, you got to give readers a reason to read these characters. Definitely. Like growing up, I never cared about Robin or most of the characters. Like I was not a big DC fan. I was more into like the action of Marvel. But even the X-Men, or let's go with like Iron Man, or who's the oldest Marvel characters, you know, like
Miss Marvel, right? Captain Marvel would.
Well, even I don't know. It's not who I don't know, but Captain America. Now I know they're passing the torch in some degree with the Falcon, and I know that we have our Robins and our Teen Titans and Superman's son and Batman. They have these stories, but that also, and Wolverine's got a daughter. like I get that they do have these characters, but they also need to let go. I know Wolverine is a
Yeah.
hard thing to let go.
Not every
Superman-
one of these IPs can have like a passing of the torch. Here's my kid or my project, my protege, whatever.
Oh yeah, why do they always have to have kids?
Not every IP can end in nepotism. Like
So I'm gonna
sometimes
tell you
it's
something.
just
Even though we got Deadpool and Wolverine, which is a great film,
Yeah, I love that movie.
I was done with the character after Wolverine Origins. I was done with Wolverine. It was Wolverine 1, 2, and 3 in the X-Men films. It wasn't X-Men, it was Wolverine and the X-Men. All right?
Well, the
When we
Wolverine
got
movie
X-Men-
was really
When we
good.
got First Class, that's when I was like, oh, thank God. Fresh. We got
Oh, you know
something
what?
fresh.
That's so they tried. It was
And it worked.
interesting. I wish they hadn't gone with X Factor or Havoc and everything. Like, I wish
That
they
was
had
awesome.
done something different with that. I didn't like. It was a fine movie. Magneto freaking nailed it in that movie. That was like the only reason to watch that movie.
Yeah,
They got lucky
Fassbender,
with the
he's
casting.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
nah, I'll stand
And
by
then
it.
Days of
Havoc
Future
was
Past.
great.
The
So
movie Days
that-
of Future Past was awesome.
what if that had been a Magneto movie?
Yeah,
kinda
you know
was.
what? They were talking about making a Magneto movie, but they kind of missed it because they did that with X-Men. That's his movie.
Well, so what if you simply like changed? I'm not going to say you changed only the title, but what if you changed the title and you took out 10% of the X-Men stuff? That would have been like a pretty decent Magneto movie. You know, like forget all the X-Men crap, kind of take some of that out because a lot of that was force-fed into the storyline and focus on the narrative elements that really did push that story, which were heavily predicated on Magneto.
Right. At the beginning of the film, it was Magneto being taken in, getting the tattoo stamped on his arm, and him suddenly being in front of Kevin Bacon to start the training or whatever. At the end of the movie, it's all that hostility towards Kevin Bacon's character to put a fucking quarter through his brain.
And everything else was filler.
Yes.
Yeah, really, it was. I mean, they could have done more with the Professor. I mean, I know they did the whole Professor X thing, but honestly, that wasn't that interesting.
Take out the bullshit X-Men characters that they ham-fisted into that movie. Take them out. Leave a couple of the ones that were standouts, like Mystique, obviously. Have a couple of them in there, but retain that space for Charles Xavier and Magneto.
Are you saying get rid of Mystique?
No. I'm saying keep Mystique and get rid of the other ones that nobody can even remember their names.
I would have kept Beast. Fuck Mystique. I don't like her as Mystique. I thought that was a dumb idea. Her and Professor X were like buddy, brother, sister. Meanwhile, Professor X's vestigial twin slopping around in the void. Like, that didn't make any sense. I hated that aspect of. I didn't like that they tried to make her a good guy, anyways.
Okay, for one thing, never try to think that the X-Men movies are ever going to make sense because they didn't from the get-go.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I think too much about that, but yeah, it is common. You know what? That was the easy thing about Deadpool. It's so obviously not meant to be taken seriously that it was easy to not take it seriously.
Sure.
And there's a lot of like issues. Obviously, you can call out, but it's like you know what? I don't care. I don't care about all that stupid shit. It was a fun movie to watch. X-Men
You were not
more like that.
One of the wonderful things about like the Deadpool movies, just in general, and Deadpool, the character in general, is just that. And honestly, like after the conversation we had on Dojo, She-Hulk actually falls in line with this. Is the way that they don't take themselves too seriously, and they will make jokes about themselves before you ever get the chance. They will make the joke, and they will make it way better than you would.
Most definitely.
I'm saying that in
characters
Deadpool
are like,
specifically.
Like, honestly, I didn't like. I liked Iron Man growing up, but not enough to really like buy every book. You know, I bought a couple of them. I had a couple of Iron Mans. They look cool. I'd buy it, but Iron Man wasn't one of my favorites until that movie came out, and I was like, wow, that's actually like pretty cool. It's like Batman, but he's a DIY Batman.
So, did you know that the Marvel franchise was supposed to start with Captain America and not Iron Man? But they did a group study with children, and the children chose Iron Man. So they went with Iron Man as the first installment for the whole Marvel medium.
I didn't even know that they had planned it that far. I thought Iron Man was just a hit, and so they decided to go from there. Although I know they had that
wasn't hit, but it's because kids were the target, and who's going to buy all those Iron Man costumes, toys, T-shirts? I mean,
that was actually
going to, but mainly it's supposed to be kids.
You go for the audience, the kids. The kids. Now, there's a confusion lately of the adults having grown up reading it, and they still want their books, and that's cool, but it is still for kids, and that's where you can't fail if you're actually trying to make something, and not some horrible shit, that I wouldn't put in front of anybody, but like a good story, like back in the day, growing up with Batman the Animated Series and the X-Men and everything, Spider-Man, all that stuff was great. It was awesome to watch, and I was really excited. Power Rangers. Well, now we've got Dogman, and we've got Demon Slayer, Naruto. Yeah, Captain Underpants. And it's, oh my God, man, you show a kid an actual comic book, and they're amazed. They're like,
here's a good example. A good example of how this could be done, that probably should be done, is with Star Wars. They made 3 movies. And it took them a while to make that third movie. You know what I mean? Like from episode 4 to episode 6, which were the first 3 movies, there was a long time frame in there. And the stories that were being written, like it was fan fiction that Disney has all 100% written off, but it's canon. Like, I know Peter hates that term, but whatever, fuck Peter.
It's not canon. It's fan fiction.
It was canon at the time. It was canon at the time.
Which ones are you talking about? The Disney stuff?
No, not the Disney stuff. Back in the 80s, back when it was episodes 4, 5, and 6, and people were writing stories, they were not writing stories for episodes 7, 8, and 9. They were not writing stories for episode 1, 2, and 3. They were writing stories about alternative characters that existed in the same universe at the same time, and they were spin-offs. They were supplemental to the current storyline, and that is okay. Yeah, like if you're going to have a character survive for 100 years, that doesn't mean you start year 1 at the beginning and year 99 at the end. You can end it in year 3, and the rest of the 97-year history can be the supplemental stories that happen along the way.
So the Star Wars books, I would consider the ones that have at the back approved by George Lucas as like official canon. I count those as canon. George Lucas even would sign off on them. But, and that's even one of those situations where I don't even rely on George Lucas to write it, because I don't know how much he actually wrote of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But
very little.
So that's when it comes to canon, what I'm talking about is he's handed off his business to Disney, and everything after that has been more like fan fiction. I don't hate it, but I'm not going to consider it, canon in my brain. Although
it's a rewrite of
Rogue One,
fiction.
Or if it's good, like Rogue One was good, I'll count that as canon. But in 100 years, are they going to be making Han Solo Part 3 or 4 or 5, 100?
Probably.
Are they going to be making, or no? If they'll probably just nix those characters all together, just so they can make a female.
That is what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but then I guess that's a good example of like how not to do it, right? Like,
oh God, we're gonna have AI CGI force ghosts of Han Solo and Princess Leia for the rest of ours and our children's lives.
Kids like the Mickey D's red and yellow colors of Iron Man's suit. Actually, there's
that plays into it.
Just like it's like yellow. Is it yellow or is it orange that makes you hungry? They're like what colors do to people.
Yeah.
Well, I've never heard about that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's a serious psychology study. Red gets people excited and into things. Not even joking. That is this.
Mm.
Hmm.
Oh, I know. I guess I should have worn my red shirt today.
You'd have gotten more views.
I would have gotten more views.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. The Star Wars thing is weird because I don't like the new Star Wars for the most part. Like, I'm some of it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I loved Rogue One. I thought that was like,
Yeah, that was
that's
good.
canon in my mind. In my mind, that fits perfectly in there. But, and even Mandalorian to a degree does kind of work. But I don't know. I like after Luke Skywalker showed up.
But that's a peripheral
Boba
story,
Fett-
and that's what I'm saying. That's what's good about it is that it didn't have to fall into the regime and the guidelines of a continuation. It's like let's explore the universe and the other things that are happening, and you can do that infinitely, and it's okay. When you're
Brandon
taking
O'Neill points out
an
something.
actual storyline and you're trying to ham fist an end that doesn't exist and ham fist a beginning that doesn't fit, that's bullshit. But when you're telling the alternative stories, the peripheral stuff that's happening to other characters that you maybe even only got a glimpse of for 3 minutes in an entire trilogy,
Yeah, I agree with
that's
that.
cool.
I think that works, and that's why probably why Mandalorian works better than Boba Fett, because Boba Fett was a character that we already know what happened to him. We don't need anymore. He was a bad guy, and he was a cool bad guy, but he was a bad guy. We don't need redemption story arc or anything like that, just to for whatever reason, for no reason at all. But then you get these side stories like the Acolyte, and I haven't seen the Acolyte, but
Hadn't either.
I've seen enough of it that I don't know if this show's for me, and maybe someday I will watch it. But I don't think that is technically okay. You know how you're talking about those side stories? Well, they weren't detrimental to the canon or whatever the universe. When you write the Acolyte or something that's going to change the meaning of the rest of the franchise by change, it's like the Force is a character, like Leia and everybody, Luke and everybody. So when you fundamentally change something like the Force, you're changing a main character in that story, and so that pisses me off when you do something like that. But when you've got Shadow of the Empire, where you've got this side story going on in the background. And the book was not like the game. But let's use the game for example, because it's focused around Dash Rendar. That works, because that doesn't affect anything that happened in the main storyline. So
Exactly.
that is cool. I like
and
that.
it's a good story. It's well done. Dash Rendar's stuff is good.
Yeah, well, and Luke
Why did they
Skywalker-
not make that a movie?
I just have no idea why they didn't make that movie. It skipped the Han Solo movie because, again, that was
The Han Solo movie. You were going to read Brandon O'Neill's comment, and I'm stepping on your toes. Sorry about that. But the Han Solo movie with a little bit more production, less drama, and the name Dash Rendar instead of Han Solo would have been a completely different entity.
You change that name to anything but Han Solo, and it could even be like, I don't know, somebody. They could have Han Solo like look up to this guy at the end of the movie, and he's got this Wookiee buddy. And he's like, I want to be friends with that Wookiee buddy. That's how Han Solo got the idea. Something stupid, I don't know. But that's ham-fisting the idea. But change the name of Han Solo movie to anybody else, and you've got a pretty cool idea for a movie. It's just not a Han Solo movie. So Brandon was saying, speaking of Star Wars, have you seen the Star Wars Theory Vader Episode 1? Yes, I have. And it actually was pretty well done. I don't know if I like the story. I don't know. That came out a while back, right? Like, that's not something recent. If I might be thinking of something else, but I'm pretty sure it was Star Wars Theories Vader episode. It was cool for a fan video. That was pretty cool. I'm not going to knock it. I don't have anything negative to say about it. It was cool for fan fiction. That was a really well done job. So good job, Star Wars Theory. That was a fun watch.
I'd like to
Texas
extend that
Beast.
to some of these other ones.
lesbian space witches is what I've heard about the Acolyte, and I see no reason to like think otherwise when you see the two of them. Like, I
The
don't know, man.
camaraderie.
I can't talk too much about the Acolyte because I haven't seen it, but yeah, the camaraderie. I know that they're changing the Force's female and all this crap, but that's not cool. Make it I don't know.
Well,
I don't even know.
that's why the Force is so extreme. There's only a light and dark, and nobody's ever gray. You know?
Yeah, right.
Well, there you go.
That's a good. Maybe
That's
they're
your-
right.
It is a woman.
That's why
You're-
the Force is so temperamental. Brandon O'Neill says he's working on 2 and 3 now. When did the first one come out? Because I saw one years ago. I don't know if it was his or not. I'm pretty sure I saw his though, but I want to say it was a couple years ago, and it was a pretty cool. It was a pretty well job. And here's the way. The reason I'm like I don't know what to say about it is because it was good enough that I'm comparing it to like the professional. I'm not like thinking, oh, if it was just like some fan fiction I didn't care about, or I'd be just like, oh yeah, that was cool. But like, it was good enough that I would put it on like, would that be something that Disney should buy off of him, which is something I've heard. Why not let Star Wars Theory make a Darth Vader movie because he did such a good job? I don't think it's that quality, but it's up there to the point where I would actually rank it as to like, maybe. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
Darth Vader's another
Vader-
one. How long until he's going to be? Well, he's already.
Darth Vader is not
gone.
a character to give a solo film to, and the reason that he is the fucking bad guy. And so we got Anakin Skywalker's story in the Clone Wars series.
That's the problem right there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Focusing on these bad guys and making them understandable.
Right.
Even Thanos
you
was
want-
kind of like.
But if you watch the Clone Wars that took place between episodes 2 and 3, and you watched that on Cartoon Network, it was phenomenal. Everybody enjoyed that. Guess what? George Lucas didn't sign off on it, but everybody was okay with it because it was awesome and it was within the story that you already knew. It was expanding what you would already know of these characters and understand how they get from point A to point B. And when Ahsoka came in as Anakin Skywalker's apprentice, I was all for Ahsoka having her own show because we learned that she was taken in by Anakin. So you could have extended that. Hell, you could have made it about Ahsoka in 7, 8, and 9. I didn't need fucking Rey because we don't know who the fuck she is or why she's related to anything.
Yeah. Yeah,
That would have been something. That would have been something else right there.
You know what?
I don't even have a
that might
problem
have
with
made more
Rey,
sense.
but that
because
would have
Rey
been
had-
cool.
Right.
So Rey had like that would have made more sense because of the idea that she was tied to Anakin, and so his legacy doesn't get ruined by some newbie coming in with the Force and like girl bossing it up in there or whatever they call it now. I don't even know what they say, but
And
But
still
that's what they
Mary
say.
Sue,
name.
They call it girl bossing it up in there.
girl bossing Mary Sue, whatever the fuck the term is these days. Basically, she didn't earn shit. She's just up there like throwing the Force around. Like Ahsoka actually was tied to Darth Vader, so that would actually been kind of cool if they'd put the effort into writing that a decent story for her. I didn't see all of the Ahsoka show because that actually continues his story. He's dead, so we don't need the Emperor to come back. We don't need anything else. We need maybe a good continuation. But personally, I thought the Thrawn trilogy would have been better. But you know what? I'm actually all for that idea. That would have been cool too.
And with as much as George Lucas has like rehash specials of episode 6, you could have made an end credits scene where, we saw the Force Ghost of Anakin Skywalker, and suddenly out in the distance under the full moonlight on top of a rock, you see Ahsoka meditating and her eyes open in shock because she realizes her master passed. And you pick up with Ahsoka.
Right at the end of Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where the story goes. Not how many years in the future when everybody's old and going back, like Han Solo going back to smuggling didn't make any sense.
No.
I'm not sure what would have been.
It was weak.
It was, yeah, and then throwing
It
him
was
down the garbage
obvious.
chute, that pisses me off, man. I like that movie up until that point. I was
throw
okay with
everybody
it.
cool. We throw everybody cool down the shaft, dude.
No, you
We
don't.
threw
Not the garbage
Palpatine
chute.
down the shaft.
You
We
throw,
threw
you throw
Darth
bad
Maul down
guys.
the shaft.
Yeah, the bad
We
guys.
throw-
You throw the bad guys in the trash, and the good guys get exploded. It's common sense. You explode them.
Oh man.
It's a heroic death, or they get chopped in half by a lightsaber, or just disappear.
Well, when
But-
that happens, they survive 30 years later.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
that would have
that's the
been
problem.
my way of like moving on from characters that were already established and had no more story to tell. Pass it on to the next gen. See, full circle.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's it. Perfect. Because then now we don't have, all these kind of confusing story arcs with Obi-Wan and Anakin and the Obi-Wan show. And then there's the Ahsoka timeline, which I was a little confused by because she's talking to him as the Force Ghost, but he's like Anakin, Force Ghost.
Mhm.
But wasn't there like a Vader Force Ghost or something? And at that time,
He got eliminated after like one of the very first special effects re-releases.
Yeah.
uh,
He-
That guy
He's
got a
no longer
raw
there.
deal. That's a
It's
sad
him,
story,
Christian
actually.
Holloway now.
The guy who played Vader, like they had his voice obviously like redone, and then the
Yeah.
actor finally got a couple of seconds of screen time in Return of the Jedi when he dies and he's talking to Luke with the mask. Like you see this much of his face as he's talking to Luke, and then they
Come on,
actually
my
have
son!
the actor.
Leave me.
And then at the very end, you see the Force Ghost of him. You're like, wow, that's Anakin. And then you get the VHS, and it's like, what? Huh? That's not the one I saw in the theater. It's a different dude.
Yeah.
And then they changed Yoda too. They made him the CGI Yoda. I'm pretty sure they changed that Force Ghost Yoda.
Yeah, thanks, Beast.
CGI.
Sebastian Shaw. That was his name.
Did they ever replace Obi-Wan with Ewan McGregor as that Force
No,
Ghost?
no, I don't think so, because that guy, I forget his name. You probably remember, but the guy who played Obi-Wan was a huge English actor at the time. Like he's
Yeah,
one of
but-
those that they keep him on the roster because of his name value.
Yeah, but his name doesn't have as much value now as it did back then. And they've already changed so much about the specialized dog shit edition that
Is that what they called it?
yeah, I had to
think
go
that was
get
Sal.
I had to go get a despecialized version of the movie without all that shit, just so that I could enjoy it again. Because all I had of the original trilogy was the VHSs.
So I got to say something about that. And to you who is watching this video right now, I am talking specifically to you. I need you to do a thing for me right now. Peter has
Alec
an
Guinness.
editable version of the Star Wars movies. He can make edits to that movie because he has the original files to do it. And I've seen him make those edits. It is fucking hilarious. You need to bomb his comments. You need to leave a message right now. Peter, I want to see the edits that you have done to the Star Wars movie. That needs to be released on this channel.
I need to make shorts. I need to take them and make shorts out of them because some of those, that Yoda exploding was hilarious.
Yes.
I'll be asking about it in the DMs every day now.
So yeah, that's
It
a good
is
idea.
epic.
So with the continuation, now here's the other thing about this: how long can these characters go? There is a catch, and DC figured it out. It's with the Elseworlds, and that's where you don't need to publish a Batman every month. You can have a writer and a good team come in and write a story, and the character could last another 100 years because you're not oversaturating markets. You're not doing any whatever. You're just writing good stories, and you have the good art, and it's meant to sell. As it doesn't have to be like this happens at this time when this other shit's going on. Just write cool stories to keep it going and not just focus on getting another one out, because I think that's a major problem. And indie comics do a really good job with writing cool stories that are different because they're not pigeonholed into like the past 100 years of canon, you know.
Mhm.
And no more spheres. Get rid of those fucking spheres. I'm sick of them. Spheres everywhere. I'm looking around.
You need to make a video specifically about spheres. There's a
Alex
whole like
Guinness.
behind the scenes story about that, but it's a thing, and Peter needs to make a video about it.
I do need to make a video about it, but I got to, you know how much research I got to do to find all the spheres? I'm going to have to go on a hunt for
Like
spheres.
30 minutes. It's not going to be that hard. You've got Westworld. You've got Fifth Element.
Westworld, I didn't even know about Westworld. Now I got to add that to the list
Yep.
of spheres. Oh, that's right.
The
I
Death
forgot. Yeah,
Star.
there is a sphere in there.
Yeah.
Death Star, Magneto, Dark Phoenix. Was it Darkseid? Well, who was doing the sphere in the Justice League movie? I don't even care.
Flash.
Fuck him. He made a sphere. Get him out of here.
Flash, he made all the spheres.
Sphere. Yeah, Flash lives in a time sphere. I'm sick of him.
No.
And then you got the orb people in like Star Wars, and what is those monsters called in the Star Wars, the new Force Awakens, where he's like, oh no, not those raptoroid things. They're balls, dude. They're just giant spherical slugs. They roll and like lump about. That's not a
Sorry to burst your bubble on an IP that you enjoy, but Metroids are a half sphere.
Yeah, but they're only a half sphere.
Jar Jar got something to say.
We're not talking. Hold on a minute. Half spheres is a whole nother thing. That's acceptable. You know, like Pac-Man's kind of like a broken.
It's only half
sphere.
a bag.
Yeah.
Was he the villain?
I'm sorry.
I guess he kind of was.
Those
Jar Jar's
raptor,
comment.
whatever those things are called in that Star Wars movie where they were rolling around, that is not a time. That is not a Sarlacc pit. That is not what is the monster and the snow monster and Hoth? The Wampa. No, Wampa was from Tatooine.
The Whomping Willow and Harry Potter.
Yeah, it ain't nothing like that. It's anyways, I'll make a video about it. I've talked enough about it. I don't want to talk about spheres.
Jar Jar's got a comment down there.
Jar Jar? Jar Jar, Ed, what's going on? We got the problem with comics is people don't think in long term when they're writing their stories. So you end up with a bunch of problems that need to be fixed or undone and yet another event comic. That's a good point.
Exactly.
Because, then you got to unevent the event.
Yeah.
Like, what is that one they just did in Justice League where I didn't read it, but I saw the cover where all the caskets are laid out, so the Justice League is dead. And so, you remember that one? That was like last year or the year before.
The Suicide Squad video game? Oh, sorry, different thing.
No, that.
Oh, yeah,
no,
the Suicide Squad game.
No.
Were those actually them, or were those like zombie versions or something? Because I never played those games.
It was them, and it was a complete, like, can be a thing for a different episode, but that was a complete, like, travesty. Beginning to end, everything about that game. Specifically the way that they handled the franchises that they were handed.
Harley Quinn's an example of, you know what, here's a new character. That character 30 years later is still probably more popular than she was back then.
Yeah, but I hate her more.
I mean,
Well, look
but
what they've done to 5 years ago. You wouldn't have said that.
all right, well, so here's the thing. I'd be more okay with them doing whatever with that character than making a Rainbow Batman, even though that did happen with the 80s.
Well, you don't like Zernar? You don't like Batman Zernar? That was awesome.
So
Batman
like, I'd
Forever.
rather them do that, make a character. That was a good example of like, all right, we have this character that's new. We can change that character and do whatever the hell we want. Even though I liked her the way she was, I'd rather have Batman the way he is, and you do whatever the hell you want with Harley Quinn. No, not Poison Ivy. Ah, shit. All right, you know what?
If we want a Batman Beyond film, then we need to set up the stepping stones to get there, which means we have to make Bruce Wayne get old. We have to have the Robins come in and do their thing. We have to have Barbara take over her father's job. There is shit you have to put in place and make happen I don't
Well
want
said.
Elseworld. Just make the fucking universe grow.
You have to have confidence in your
I'm happy with that.
storytelling. You have to write and tell a good story. You do not have to have that character exist for 100 years.
No.
You can, it doesn't even have to be a passing of the torch. It can be a continuation of the things that are the events and the stories and the characters that are ongoing, but that can be done right.
Do you know how many people
definitely.
actually wanted the Christopher Nolan's version of Robin to actually take up the mantle at the end of the third film?
Yeah.
You know,
I like that
I was
actor,
expecting
too.
it.
And I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I loved his movies. Like I thought that was the best 3 Batman movies.
Mhm.
And I'm going to include the third one in that. I don't think it was terrible, but I think it was the worst of the 3. And I still think that as a trilogy, it carried a lot of weight. I still think it's the best trilogy and the best 3 movies.
Yes, we
Compared
saw
to
new
what, though?
characters. We didn't
Like
rehab.
compared to the Tim
yeah.
Burton's Batman.
Yeah, I think they hold weight. Definitely hold weight, and I do think they're better. And I got all the respect
better
in the world for Tim Burton stuff.
All right, they are better stories. Like the Tim Burtons were just like Batman goes up against bad
They were
guy.
fun.
It was kind of classic. They were fun. They were comic book movies, and actually that was back when DC was like killing it with their movies. We had Superman, Batman, and they were like killing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the hell happened. So the Beast here says, Texas Beast says, they need to do it like anime. Plan the whole series out for a finite length of episodes and time, beginning, middle, and end.
Absolutely
Exactly.
right.
Then wrap it up. Now, here's a problem with some animes. They don't have good endings. They don't focus on the ending. They don't ever end. They just keep going, but that's so... There are animes that do have an ending. And I know supposedly One Piece has an ending. It's friendship or something.
One Piece does not have an ending. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
The One Piece is going to be friendship.
Let's talk about good animes.
So I liked Outlaw Star, but it had an ending, but it wasn't good. The whole show built up to that ending, and it was kind of like, that's not a good ending, dude. Like, it was a letdown. The show's still cool, but the ending sucked. And
everybody gets all mad about Game of Thrones and how they ended it, but that was such an anime ending.
It is.
And
that
if we had
entire series was built up.
If we had enough seasons, that's how it would have ended.
Yeah, you know, you have 2 completely different like sides of the coin. You have how Game of Thrones ended, which is where they were like, we have to end it. And I do respect the fact that they knew they had to end it, and they wanted to circumvent expectations. They wanted to end it in a way that people hadn't already figured out online. I respect them for like trying. They failed miserably, but I do respect that. Whereas on the other side of the coin, you have, and again, all respect to our alum over here, but Walking Dead, which was written as a good story, and then they had to, like, they signed a contract where they are going to be making Walking Dead movies until at least 2075, and they have no way of like doing all of the middle stuff in that story
until they finally get to the aliens.
Right,
I'm still waiting for those fucking aliens. I was promised aliens, and I never got.
That's gonna. They put out a trailer teaser for that. It's gonna be like the year 2056 when they introduce those, I think.
Batman Hush was my first comic arc I actively followed. Then I gave up after reading the initial New 52 stuff. Yeah, I think a lot of people walked out around that time.
New 52 is not that bad, though. It was just reiterating what already happened, which is what Rebirth does now.
Yeah, but it was the way they portrayed the characters. When Superman, I know,
I'm not a huge... and there was more blood in the comics. Boo-hoo, we grew up.
Yeah, but there was less like focus on the morals and the points of each character. Like Superman wasn't as like American or whatever. He wasn't as like you could look at an old Superman and still feel like he was gonna save. Like he was gonna save the day. He was a good hero. But then later, when he's all beefy and everything, like he wasn't like that. You didn't look at him. You didn't look up to him. You just looked at him like, oh, okay, he's like a Hulk. He's running around. There's got stories. I'm not talking about the stories at all. There's like this idea of Superman that Christopher Reeves kind of instills into people,
right?
That I haven't seen since. you know. And of course, I was not a big Superman reader. I was not a big DC reader. So this all came from like just every time I looked at the character, or I saw him somewhere in a movie, or I guess like a comic book. I did read the Death of Superman. I read a few, but it wasn't like, that's not even New 52. And I was just kind of like, I'm not feeling it. Like, I'm not feeling this guy. Batman's cool because Batman's, you know, an asshole. He's Batman. I'm Batman.
Fair.
They did try that with Dick Grayson being Batman after the Final Crisis, and that got undone, and Bruce Wayne got the Batman mantle back because he couldn't handle it. Which one was the gay Robin?
Broken by Bane during Nightfall. And then the story of Dick Grayson taking up the mantle, called Prodigal, is the first time that Dick Grayson put on the suit. And guess what? Everybody in Gotham was freaked out that Batman was suddenly quippy and smiling while bashing brains in. They got more scared of Batman.
Is Dick Grayson the gay Robin?
If you want to label him as such, I will go with that.
I'm just asking because maybe that's not why they were terrified.
Starfire.
No, they were terrified because they saw him and they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with Batman?
Why is he smiling while he's kicking my teeth?"
Smiling a lot. I thought he died. What happened? And now he's like different.
they're like they see him go and beat up a couple of villains, a couple of like guys who stole a lady's purse, but then he's having trouble finding the change for the Coca-Cola out of the soda machine, and they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No. What just happened in the comics now is Dick Grayson decided to take a break from Nightwing, and Bruce Wayne took up the costume.
Mental health.
What? People in Bloodhaven are now scared of Nightwing.
Did that really happen?
Yes.
So they're just swapping suits all left and right. It's disgusting.
Do they actually have to have those custom made? Or is he like literally like, hey, I'm going to borrow your Batman suit and I'm going to go out on the town tonight?
It's like Robin walks in naked. He's like, yo, I need a I'm going to wear your suit, bro. You got to go out.
I don't have my suit's at the cleaners. Can I just borrow yours? I mean, no one's going to know the difference. I got all the change for the soda machine this time. I swear.
Batman sitting at his computer in the Robin outfit. He's like, yeah.
Oh,
I'm
watching. He's like, leave me alone, Peyton.
On his little recliner with a toilet.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Well, guys, it's 2 minutes after the hour. I want to thank everybody for jumping in here in the chat. It's Jar Jar. We got Texas Beast. Who do we have earlier? Brandon O'Neill.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for jumping in. And everybody watching this on the replay, don't forget to like and subscribe and all that nonsense. And you know what? I may just be back next week. Also, go check out both these guys' channels right here. We got Jake over at with what's your Tail End Studios is the name of your channel, right? Or is it Bionic Bro? Bionic Bro. It's Bionic Bro. And then Stanley Orchard over here. Check out everybody's channels. Hit subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and then we'll see you next time.
Now get out, and I'll tell you when I